Today, I want to share with you a strategy that I created to help you grab back your power, gain your control, and really be able to shift your thoughts and ultimately shift your life. Our thoughts can be really difficult and somewhat challenging to face. And so for most of us, we try to avoid them or push past them or neglect them or act like they don't exist. But what most of us don't know is our thoughts actually control our life. Research says that we have somewhere between 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day, and over 90% of them are negative and majority of them are repetitive. So it's almost like we have a playlist in our mind of these negative thoughts that cycle through. And how do you think that impacts our actions? If you think about it, if you wake up and you're like, today's going to be a bad day, 9 times out of 10, you start to seek the things that confirm that in fact it was a bad day. If you wake up and you're like, you know what, it's going to be a great day and I'm feeling empowered, I'm feeling inspired. Before you know it, you start to feel really inspired and productive, and it turns out to be a really great day. Ultimately, our thoughts control our life. And so it's important that we stop trying to run from them and stop trying to avoid them, but really learn what we can do with them to get in better control of them so that we can start to make the shifts that we desire and deserve within our life. Being totally transparent, we all have those moments where we have thoughts that consume us and we feel like we could never change or shift those. And we all have those emotions that feel difficult to master. But I'm here to tell you that you have so much more power than you likely know of. And so one strategy that I use is called Confront, Delete, and Change. And this is a strategy that I have adopted in many areas of my life. I remember writing my book and having negative thoughts and really having to incorporate this strategy. I remember going through my divorce and having to incorporate this strategy to change and shift my thoughts. I remember just working through my entrepreneurial journey and supporting people on their personal development journey and having to incorporate this strategy. And so the neat thing about it is it's a comprehensive personal development strategy that you can apply to many different areas, because the reality is we have thoughts about negative thoughts and positive thoughts, but mostly negative thoughts about a lot of different things. And if we don't get in control of those negative thoughts, we ultimately can't make those shifts and changes that we desire and deserve in our life. So the way the Confront, Delete, and Change strategy works is really simple. It's exactly what it says. So basically, when you have a negative thought, instead of pushing it to the side or trying to cover it up or trying to run from it, you actually confront it head on, right? You start with the confront. So you have this negative thought. I don't feel like anyone would ever listen to me, even though I know that I have a powerful story to share. Okay, confront that thought. Where did that thought come from? When did you first notice that thought? When did you give yourself permission to believe and accept that thought as a reality? That's one of the most important questions, because ultimately for us to internalize a thought, we're giving permission for us to believe it. So was there a certain situation that confirmed that and allowed you to believe it? You want to ultimately confront that thought head on, because the only way you can change it is if you ultimately truly understand it. Then after you confront it head on, you move into the deletion process. This is where you flat out just reject the thought. You say, okay, this is not something that I want to embrace. This is not something that I want to believe. Even if you've acknowledged that there's been a situation that has triggered you to believe this, you still get to make a change. Every single day is a fresh beginning. I don't care if you've made the same decision 410 times and you have this thought that you're a lazy person, right? Today, you can choose to be something different simply by making that choice, right? So you choose to delete that thought totally. Now, here's where the most important part comes, because a lot of times we try to delete it, but the way our brain works is it wants to recycle it. So we have to give our brain something new to put in place of that thought. This is where my favorite part comes, which is the change process. So how can you shift and change that original thought that you have with something more positive? So instead of believing that you're lazy, or instead of believing that no one will ever read your story, or instead of believing that you'll never recover or heal from your trauma or your experience, what can you allow yourself to believe instead? And here's the neat thing, right? Our subconscious mind controls over 90% of our daily actions. But we operate from our subconscious mind, which is where most of our negative thoughts, not negative thoughts are. But here's the neat thing. Our subconscious mind can be changed at any given moment, right? Our subconscious mind loves orders. It loves directives. And so when you change something on a subconscious level, you ultimately change it on a level of where you take action from. I love our subconscious mind because it never will make you out to be a liar. So when I was going through my divorce and really just healing that hurt, I would tell myself all the time, I, Dr. Nicolia, am recovered. I, Dr. Nicolia, am healed. I, Dr. Nicolia, am resilient. And I would affirm these things. Now, in the moment when I was saying those, I didn't feel recovered. I didn't feel resilient. I didn't feel healed. But the more I started to say that, the more my subconscious mind started to align with that and started to take steps to make me become more resilient, to make me become closer to my recovery, right? To make me healed. I use the same thing when I first started stepping into my business, right? I would say, I, Dr. Nicolia, am changing lives every single day. Now, on a conscious level, it didn't look like I was changing lives when I was sitting in my little tiny 2-bedroom townhouse and I was using my phone to record and I didn't have good lighting. My lamp was kind of trashy. Like, it didn't look like I was moving in that direction. But the more I started to affirm myself and let my subconscious mind know this, the more my actions began to align as well. So instead of getting consumed in that negative thought or that negative belief that you have probably played on repeat for far too long, how can you replace that with something more positive? Now, you want to state it into a positive way. So the way that the subconscious mind works is you don't ever want to use negative. So you don't want to say, I am not anxious, right? Because that still is sending the message that you're anxious. So you would say, I am at peace. I am calm. I am a best-selling author. I am changing lives. I am showing up. I am confident. You want to say it in a positive way. In fact, I am is the most powerful 2 words that you can ever place together to really recreate what you want your subconscious mind to know. So here's the thing. Anytime a negative thought comes up, the more you get into the practice of it, the more you can do it on a quicker level, right? I remember sitting in a staff meeting one time and I had a negative thought come up about not wanting to speak up about what was on my mind, not wanting to share because I lacked that confidence. I felt like I would be judged, and I had a lot of experiences within the workplace where I had spoken up and people didn't really like my idea, or I was invalidated or things like that. And so in that moment when I felt that, I confronted it. Okay, yeah, in the past, I've accepted that because I've been judged or because my thoughts have been invalidated. But you know what? Today is a new day. I'm going to totally delete that. And then I'm going to create a new belief. I'm going to create the fact that I'm confident. I'm going to show up confident, and I'm going to express what I need, knowing that they'll at least hear me this time, right? And so in those moments, I'm able to move through this cycle like this. And it has been totally life-changing because our thoughts happen so quickly, and sometimes we don't even recognize when they come. But the more we get into the habit of incorporating the confront, delete, and create, the more it becomes a regular practice. And before you know it, you're beginning to reprogram your subconscious mind to look for the positive thoughts, which in turn impacts your life positively as well. I am such a firm believer that there's something to be learned from every single negative thought, negative experience and trigger that we have. I always tell my clients that these are teachers. These are opportunities for us to learn. These are opportunities for us to grow. But if we spend our entire life running from them or pushing them to the side or avoiding them, then we have no opportunity to learn. And so that's when I created this formula. I was really intentional about each step of the process, right? Confronting it. That's important because we got to confront it head on to learn from it. Then we have to be able to delete it, which is really important to step into our power. We are powerful creatures, and we do not give ourselves enough credit to really be able to step into that power unapologetically and shift the things that we don't want, the things that we don't like. You don't have to accept any of the thoughts unless you choose to. And that's why the deletion part of the process is so important. And then we move into create, which is also important because you have the opportunity to create what you want, to create the reality you want. Too many of us are living our life by default. We're letting things happen to us and woe, it's me. And we're standing at this victim mentality. But again, we are so powerful. We are powerful enough to be able to create and design, no longer live by default, but design a life that we ultimately love. In order to do that, you got to make it a regular practice and a regular part of your day. And that's what I'm going to ask for you today. There's no use of you listening to this training today and being like, that was great information. Check it off my to-do list and go about my day, right? Or that was great information, but that only works for her, not for me. I am a firm believer that output is far more beneficial than input. And what I mean by that is you can take in information, but taking in information is only beneficial if you actually make it applicable, if you actually apply it. And this is a true example. You can literally take this to any thought that you have, apply it, and start to make immediate shifts. Not shifts that take years, but like immediate shifts, because when you ultimately change your mind, you change your life. So what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to join me on this journey. I'm going to ask you to commit to just one thought that has been passively coming up, that you feel overwhelmed with, that you're frustrated with, and apply the confront, delete, and create strategy, and watch how it starts to make shifts. And once you recognize that, you'll get excited and you'll begin to apply it to other areas. And the more you apply it, the easier, the more natural it becomes, and the more shifts that you begin to make in your life. So I'm excited to have you join me on this journey. And until next time, I will chat with you guys later.